I'm going live and I'm not telling anybody. So this is a impromptu Facebook live training. I'm live here in Facebook on my Facebook page and also on my Instagram. So you can watch me in either places. And today I'm going to be talking about some easy SEO tips for beginners. So before I start, I'm actually going to share this on my in my Facebook group. I think there's a way to do that. But yeah, once as I'm figuring that out, I would love to know, what are you guys doing today? Friday, huh? Yeah. If you're watching the replay, let me know, please. Hey, replay people. Hey! Oh, so good. It's Friday, right? So I'm going to be talking about some really easy SEO tips today. And if I'm not looking at the camera, it's because Instagram and Facebook need to create something where they coordinate, right? Hey, I'm doing good. Doing good. Okay, so let's get started. I've shared there in my Facebook group. So let's dive in. And because this is live, the cool thing is you guys can ask me questions, which I haven't done it live in a while. So I love that. I'm here to answer any SEO or Google Analytics questions. But let's start. So this is episode 137 of the podcast. So you guys will be able to listen to this again as well if you want to. And if you don't know, my podcast is called Digitally Overwhelmed, and I talk about all things digital marketing, but lately have been really focusing on SEO. So it's actually 147 of the podcast. I don't know why I said 137. I wrote that down wrong. Okay, so 3 tips, 3 beginner tips. So SEO is like this big elephant of a monster of things that you need to be doing, not doing, blah, 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 blah. And I like to just keep it simple, keep it actionable, take out the overwhelm, guys. Just let go of the overwhelm and just focus on the things that you can really action. Because there are just lots of things you can do with SEO, and it's not straightforward like it, maybe 5 years ago or 10 years ago, you just added some keywords and you were done. And so nowadays it's like this whole thing. And I just love to just keep it really simple. And I actually have something that I'm so excited about that I launched yesterday, that is going to help you guys keep it even more simple. So stay tuned till the end if you want to know more about that. But let's get into the tips. So the first tip is important. Oh, and I just want to do a little caveat here before I dive into these tips. These are not going to be technical tips, okay? So I have another podcast episode. I can quickly pull up which number it is, but I have another episode about technical SEO. So that's 137. That was the episode I was talking about before. So that's a whole episode about, kind of the technical parts, like, redirects and stuff like that. Today I'm going to be talking more about like content, more about just like practical, more content and website stuff, not technical stuff. Just want to say that. So these are beginners tips that are not technical. So the first tip is, think about how SEO fits into the rest of your marketing. So a lot of people, the reason why SEO is so stressful and frustrating is that it's like this whole separate thing that they need to be doing, and they don't have time. Like no one has time, right? So it's important to really think about, how are we like integrating SEO into the rest of what our marketing is? Because otherwise it's always going to be this isolated thing that we're not really paying attention to, and that just keeps getting pushed down into the things that we need to be doing. So how do we do that? So you're like, that's great, Cynthia, that sounds great, but I don't even have time to think about how it fits into the rest of my marketing. So a great tip and a great thing to think about is how can you repurpose and double up on content? So this podcast episode, this Facebook Live, this Instagram Live, this is a great example. This is going to turn into a podcast episode, but it's also going to be a blog post. So I'm actually going to break out the notes. I have my show notes here. I'm going to break that out and I'm going to make this a whole blog post with some extra tips and some extra information. And so this is a great way that I'm not having to create a whole other thing. My SEO content plan is super in line with all the rest of my marketing. So one of the best ways to approach this initially is to think about what are you launching in the next 3 months, the next 6 months, and how can you work your way backwards in keywords? How can you work your way backwards in content? And just like build out things that are in line with what you're launching and what you're selling. So let's say you're launching a new course. So what content, what questions do people have about the course that you can start building blog content right now, right? And so this could be a mix of like maybe a live training or maybe a social media series. You take that series and you make it a blog post. So see how there's like different ways to repurpose, recycle, reuse, reuse content and just like double up on content. So when I say that SEO has to fit into the rest of your marketing, it doesn't mean that you have to be creating this whole new thing. It can be totally like the same stuff or just similar stuff to what you're doing in the rest of your marketing channels so that it just simplifies that. Same with your email list, right? So you can take your emails and make them blog posts. And that's totally cool. So thinking about how it all fits in is really important because it's going to change your motivation around it and it's going to change it's going to change the consistency. It's just going to make it easier, right? And I'm all about making it easy. All right, so that's my first tip, thinking about how SEO fits into the rest of your marketing. The second one is creating an SEO routine that you can really commit to and have fun. So when I talk about an SEO routine, I'm talking about just like how when you wake up, you brush your teeth, maybe you drink water and coffee and all that. You don't think too much about like what's going to happen next. It's like kind of this step-by-step thing. That's a routine. So with SEO, the same thing needs to happen. You don't want to be reinventing the wheel every time. You want to be just like, this is what I need to be doing. And just having that in your task management system, whether that's Asana or Trello or whatever, or even a piece of paper, you're just like following that step by step, right? So I've actually recently been doing this for my finances, for my business finances. I have a money date once a week. And I used to find it super overwhelming. So what did I do? I created a routine. I created a list of things that I need to be looking at every single week. And so I don't need to think about it. I just show up, I follow literally everything on that list, and it gets done. So same thing with SEO. So what should your SEO routine include? It should include, how are you using your keywords? It should include when you're building your content, when you're scheduling, when you're formatting all your content. It should include like brainstorming and keyword research and that sort of thing. So there are different tasks that need to happen. And a lot of the times what I find with my one-to-one clients is that they don't get done because there's so many like little things that are kind of distracting them, right? So they know they need to write the blog post, but then they forgot that they hadn't researched the keywords, or they have the keywords, but then, they don't feel like they're ready to write the blog post or the outline isn't ready. So it's kind of like this jumbled puzzle and that's not good. So it's really great to just have a set routine where you're like, this is what I need to be doing. And that's it. And this is actually something that I teach more in the course that I'm launching, Traffic Boost course. And so I'm going to be talking about that in a little bit. So stay tuned. And then the last tip, and this is really, really, really important. And it's something that maybe some of you know about and some of you are like, yeah, I kind of know, but I don't get it, is picking the right keywords for your type of site. And just making sure that those keywords are actually something you can rank in. So my favorite analogy for this is imagine, boxing. I'm not really into boxing, but you know about boxing, right? And so there's the lightweights and the heavyweights, right? And so the lightweights are like the little guys, but they're really bulky and they're strong, right? So a lightweight always fights with another lightweight. That's why they're their own types of fights, right? And then the heavyweight is another type of fight. And you would never ever see a heavyweight and a lightweight fight, not because they're not both strong and great, whatever, athletic people, but because they just don't. They're just different competitions, right? Different types of people. And so the same thing goes with keywords. So you've got your lightweight keywords and you have your heavyweight keywords. Doesn't mean one is better than the other. So there's going to be heavyweight keywords that most of us are not going to be able to rank as small to medium sized businesses because we're competing against some really heavyweight sites like maybe the New York Times or Mind Body Green, or just sites that have they're huge companies and they have teams of writers and they're just like a different scale. So the cool thing about SEO is you don't need to be a heavyweight in order to make SEO work for you. You just need to find the right competition. And so when it comes to keywords, looking at both volume is the amount of searches you get every month, and competition, which is what I was just talking about, what category is this keyword in? Are we competing against the Washington Posts of the internet, or are we competing against a smaller site that we could easily compete against? So this is really, really important, and this is actually something I help you in also in the course. But I'd say the first step is just being aware of that, and even looking at keywords that you're already ranking in. So this is a little bit of technical information now that I'm thinking about it. But looking at like where are you already ranking and who's your competition? That could be a great starting exercise to get you going, right? Okay, so let's go through them again. So number one, how does SEO fit into the rest of your marketing? How does SEO play into what you're doing with your social media, with your emails, with a podcast? Maybe some of you are podcasters. How is it just into your TikTok strategy? How are you thinking about how you can repurpose and double up on content? Another good example is I did a series. It's actually on my blog right now. That was 3 SEO myths. And so what I did is I did some Instagram lives. This was last year. And I did every day an Instagram live. And then I grabbed those and I made them YouTube videos. And then I made that into a blog post. So there you go. So there's so many options. There's so many combinations there, but really get creative. And that's going to just completely inspire you, because it's not going to feel like this thing that you have to think about. Oh, I need to write a blog post, right? What was that about again? Even aligning it with everything else, having a spreadsheet or a document where you're all the different platforms and what you're doing for each one. Okay, number 2, creating an SEO routine. This is really crucial. So don't reinvent the wheel every time. When you sit down to write your content next time, just start making a list. Start with a basic list. You look at the URL, you add keywords to your title, you outline your content, that sort of thing. And then just make that into something you look at every single time and you add to over time. And you're going to create your unique SEO routine. And so then you get to set a frequency, a rhythm. So is this a weekly thing? Is this a monthly thing? Is this something you plan out once a quarter and then you just batch a bunch of content and then it's done, right? So it becomes much more intentional, right? Instead of this reactive, oh, SEO again, I forgot. I had to do that. Totally forgot. And then the last thing is pick the right keywords for your weight type. So make sure that you are not competing against a heavyweight site if your site isn't heavyweight. So maybe some of you are competing against Mind Body Green, and that's exciting, but you need to make sure that people are actually searching that keyword, so it's getting something on a monthly basis, and then the competition is appropriate for your type of site and for your industry, right? So I want to talk about Traffic Boost. I'm really excited. So this is a course that I built last year, I think at the beginning of last year, and it's my lowest course, and it's a lowest priced course, I should say. And it's an email course, so that means you get the lessons through your email. And I love this course because I feel like it's just this easy way to start doing SEO without it having to be this whole thing, right? And that's one of the top, the top questions I get, and the top kind of concerns I get is like, Cynthia, I just don't have time to learn SEO. Like, I have a business to run, I have a million things to do. And the cool thing about the course is that you get the email lessons every day. There, I recommend like 30 minutes per email, and it's all about taking action. So it's not just theoretical, like, this is how keywords work, and this is how to, this is how to set up your SSL certificate. It's like, this is what you need to do, go and do it. And I'm all about the action, especially with SEO, because so many people know about SEO, but they don't do anything about it, right? And so that's just really frustrating. It frustrates me because I feel like it's like that's just not good enough, right? Like, learning about SEO is not good enough. You need to actually take action. And the sooner you do this, the better. The sooner you do this, the better, because Google is not going to get less complex in terms of how they rank websites. So if you can set up the foundational setup today, you're going to be way ahead the game. And just having some simple things, right? So the email course covers simple things when it comes to keywords, when it comes to just like the technical SEO, when it comes to like how your site is converting. And I have a couple bonuses as well that help you just start to build a real strategy around your SEO. So just to go through this, and you can get more information. I have a link in the bio. You can also go to my website, digitalbloomiq.com, and the top announcement bar has the traffic boost link. So a couple bonuses that are really exciting. First of all, I give you a keyword tracking sheet. So a lot of people are overwhelmed about keywords because they just don't know what to do with them, and they don't really know how to like keep track of them. So this is a spreadsheet that you download that you can use to track your keywords, right? And it's really, really great. It's really like an easy thing. And I use this same keyword tracking sheet for all my client work. So you guys are literally getting like the behind the scenes of how I work with my clients. Then you get a sample blogging routine. So we were talking about routines, right? A lot of people just don't know how often they should be blogging or like what that looks like. And so I give you a really simple starting point when it comes to how frequently you should be blogging and how to incorporate both your SEO blogs as well as your just normal blogs. So that's really fun. Then I also give you a list of beginner SEO tools. So I know some of you are tool savvy. I am a tool freak as well. I sometimes just download apps to see what they look like and play with them for a while. I'm sure I'm not the only one. So a lot of people are obsessed with like, what tools should I be using for keyword research? What tools should I be using for, like looking at broken links and that sort of thing. And so I give you a list of the tools. I don't give you a million tools, okay? I give you the simple essential tools that you need, and I tell you what to do with them. I'm not about more because there's so much information about SEO out there, and I really want to give you, like, again, the essential things that you need to start ranking your site today. And then the other cool thing is, as I continue to add to this course, and I will, you get lifetime access. So you buy the course today, and I send you all the new emails that come out in the future. So it's really cool. It's my, like I said, lowest price course, and I'm just so proud of it. And I also wanted to add that tonight, until Friday, August 7th, midnight Eastern time, approximately. I mean, I'm not going to get super specific about it. I have a special bonus that is 100 keyword ideas for small businesses. So we were talking about keywords before, right? And how it's important to understand volume and competition. So this bonus, this list of keywords, actually gives you the volume information and the competition information for each keyword. On Instagram, I'm going to show you guys because I can flip it. On Facebook, I'd have to. So there it is. So that's a preview, obviously. But there you see, like, the keywords are blurred out, but you see that each keyword has medium and competition, or volume and competition. And I have keywords for all different industries. So I included everything. And that's why there's so many. It took me a while to build that because those are all handpicked. So I'm not just didn't download anything, it wasn't just like a random swipe. I literally looked at each one and I thought about, is this something interesting to write about? It took me a while. So that's a really cool early bird bonus that you'll only get if you sign up for the course by tonight, August 7th. And that's actually a bonus that I have in my other course, but I decided to include it here because it's so helpful. And a lot of people really struggle with keywords. And so I just wanted to take that off your plate. So yeah, so the course is actually on sale right now. It's 44% off. It's a $55 course and it's going to be on sale until next week. And it's going up to $99 on Saturday next week. And it's just the easiest way to get started with the stuff. It doesn't take a lot of your time. And once you just get it done, it's done. And then you just have that set up, right? You have that on your site ready to go. All right, my friends, thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Thank you for everybody who's joining me here on Facebook Live and on Instagram Live. I'm so grateful for all of you. And just being able to teach SEO is something I love to do. I feel like so many people are already searching for something that you give to the world. And so ranking in Google is like just such a great way and an obvious way to reach those people, who are already asking for what you have to give. So if you have any follow-up questions, please leave them inside of the prospective things. If you're listening to the podcast, you can come on over to my Instagram or you can send me an email at cynthia@digitalbloomiq.com and I'll answer any questions you have about this email course. All right, we'll talk soon. Bye.